Hi guys and welcome to MotorBeam. Today I have with me cars of two slightly different segments. This is a 5-seater hybrid and this is a 7-seater petrol car. So which one should you buy? Let's compare both of these two and find out. So you might be wondering, why am I comparing a 5-seater to a 7-seater? Well, the thing is that the Urban Cruiser Hyryder top end is 22.43 lakh on-road Mumbai, and the Alcazar petrol manual 7-seater is actually 21.43 lakh. So this is actually 1 lakh cheaper than the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. So let's get started with the comparo, and of course we'll move on to the engine of the Hyryder first. This is the strong hybrid variant which I have with me, and it is powered by 1.5 liter engine which is a 3-cylinder unit, and this is of course mated to a proper strong hybrid powertrain, and this one makes 91 horsepower from the engine, 79 horsepower from the motor, and around 122 newton meters of torque. It is mated to a CVT transmission, and the claim mileage is 27.97 kilometers per liter, which is probably one of the highest in the country. And if I talk about the Hyundai Alcazar, this one is the petrol model, but there's also a diesel option on this. There's no diesel on this, but there's a mild hybrid offered on this, which is the K15C engine from Maruti. Coming to this is a 4-cylinder 2-liter naturally aspirated petrol engine. No turbos on either of these cars, and this one makes 159 horsepower and 191 newton meters of torque. This is mated to a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed torque converter. You can see some insulation over here. There is insulation on that car also, and the claim mileage on this is 14.5 kilometers per liter, which is around 13 kilometers per liter lesser than that of the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder urf the Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara. So let's shut the bonnets of both of these cars and have a quick look at the designs. So yeah, of course the Hyundai Alcazar is longer, wider, taller than the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. In fact, even the wheelbase of the Alcazar is approximately 176 millimeters, 170 millimeters longer than that of the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. Both the cars look quite nice actually, and both of them have very funky design elements. This one has some polarizing opinions, but I think it looks good. So let's come to the lights of both the cars. The Alcazar gets LED lights and halogen indicators. You get LED fog lamps also on this car. So these are the fog lamps placed quite low. I personally prefer halogen fog lamps because they offer better visibility. You can have a look at the LED lights of this car, and of course the chrome laden grille, which is actually better than that on the Creta, and this one looks more like the bigger Hyundai SUV, which is sold globally and should arrive in India soon. This one has 200 millimeters of ground clearance, which is 10 millimeters lower than that of the Hyryder, because this one has 210 millimeters of ground clearance. So yeah, this was a look at the fascia of the Alcazar, and now we'll come on to the Urban Cruiser Hyryder, which looks slightly different than the Grand Vitara, but there are not a lot of differences. The doors and a lot of panels are the same. So this one gets LED indicators over here, and these are the headlamps of the car. There are no fog lamps on this car. And coming to the alloy wheels, this one has 215 60 17 tire size. On this one you get 215 55 18 tire size, and that's about it. Which one's design do you like more? Let me know in the comment section below. We'll move on to the side of the car. The the Urban Cruiser Hyryder looks quite funky, and this blue color is very nice. You get a hybrid badge over here and this mirror mounted indicator, and you get this dual tone finish. Hyundai also offers a dual tone finish on the Alcazar, so that is not offered on the test car. The one which you have right now is a single tone color, but you get a dual tone finish on that also. And both the cars thankfully get rear disc brakes, which is a very nice thing. From the rear, the Urban Cruiser Hyryder looks a bit different from the Grand Vitara, and it actually looks nice. It has some funky design elements. This one looks simple, again better than the Hyundai Creta. Let's have a close look at the taillights of both the cars. You get halogen indicators over here, and these elements look quite nice. You get big reflectors on the Hyundai Alcazar, and over here also you get a small reflector, halogen indicators, and LED strips over here. This is the V hybrid badging because this is the strong hybrid variant, and over here you get only 2-liter badging. This is the platinum variant of the Alcazar, which is lower than the signature variant. Coming to the boot capacity, this one offers 180 liters of cargo space with the third row up in place. With the third row folded, you can free up a lot of space, and you can have a look at the knee room on offer. I'll come to this in a bit. Let's move on to the boot of the Hyryder. Because this is the strong hybrid, this one has a capacity of 265 liters, which is comparable to that of a Maruti Swift probably. Not a lot of space on offer. The shape is nice, and you get some storage area over here also, and the spare wheel is placed below the car. Let me just show it to you. So this was the spare wheel of the Hyryder, and even on the Alcazar the spare wheel is placed below the car over here. And let me just show you where the toolkit is placed. So you have to open this up, and this is the toolkit of the car. So I think we have spoken a lot about the designs of both of these cars. Let's move on to the interiors. Before that, this one gets a single exhaust tip over here, and the Hyundai Alcazar gets dual exhaust tips. So yeah, I think this looks better. So yes, enough about the exteriors. There's a Brezza over here somewhere. So yeah, let's move on to the interiors of both of these cars. We'll start off with the Hyundai Alcazar. So I'm now seated in the cabin of the Hyundai Alcazar, and this is the Platinum variant, which sits below the Signature variant. The top end is a Signature option pack, which gets a lot more features. This one misses out on a couple of features, but still it is very nicely loaded, and the pricing is quite good. Of course, this is manual, and you get an automatic also in this, but the automatic is again offered in a higher variant. So that is around 23.3 lakh on-road Mumbai. This is 22.43 lakh. So there's not a lot of difference in the prices. So I think the Alcazar actually makes for a better value for money proposition if you look at the overall package this car offers. But of course, the mileage on the Urban Cruiser Hyryder and the Grand Vitara is unbeatable. Only the Honda City e-HEV can come close. But anyway, we'll do that comparison later. Let's talk about the cabin of the Alcazar. You get this same diamond cut steering wheel, the D-cut steering wheel, which is shared with the Hyundai Creta, and it used to be offered on the Venue Sport earlier when the Venue pre-facelift was on sale. And you can have a look at the buttons of the steering wheel over here and some controls and functions over here. So this car gets quite big mirrors. The field of view is very nice, and this one is also quite nice. It offers a good view of all the pillars, and this is also auto dimming. This has this SOS feature and breakdown assistance along with Blue Link. This one does not have a mirror over here, shockingly, and over here you get a mirror, but there is no light. This one has a sunglass holder at the top, and you get the standard lights, LED lights. Okay, they're quite nice, and the sunroof control is placed over here. Now this is a bit fidgety, so if you press it a bit too much, along with the cover, even the glass will open up, and if you just want to open the cover, you have to press it very lightly. So let me just close it and show the cover to you, the quality of the cover, because it is inferior on the Grand Vitara, the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. On this, it is quite good. It is, thick, in the material is quite thick, and it filters the sunlight very nicely. So, a lot of sun rays are blocked, and not a lot of light filters inside the cabin. So this is very nicely done. Let me just show you how to operate it. So you just have to, do a light tap and let it open. If you press it a bit more than this, even the glass area will open up. So let me just open that also, and let's see how much the glass opens up. Of course, on the Urban Cruiser Hyryder, both the panes open up, and that is quite big in size. On this car, only the front glass opens up, but again, it opens up quite nice and wide. It is not meant for people to come out. It is meant for some air to come in. So we'll shut this right now because I don't want... Okay, so see, I pressed this button a bit too much, and along with the glass, even this cover is shutting. So let me just keep it on hold, and yeah, that's about it. So the cabin of the Alcazar is very nicely laid out. The layout is very good. It is ergonomic, and the build quality feels very consistent on this car. Of course, it is not very luxurious, but for the price, it is quite nicely done, and the color theme is actually very nice. So you get this, brown tan color theme over here, and the black center console on the dashboard. This breaks the monotony to a fair extent, and the screen is also quite big in size. It is fluid also. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There is no wireless Apple CarPlay on this car, unfortunately. And you get this extra speaker over here. So this has a Bose audio system with 8 speakers, and there's a subwoofer and an amplifier also. And these are the buttons for the infotainment system. This volume control knob feels quite good to operate. It is of very nice quality. You get single zone automatic climate control. These are the buttons for the AC, very easy to operate. And there is some storage space over here. This is a mobile charging pad. You get a 12-volt socket over here, a normal USB port to connect your phone, and a normal USB charging port. This is only for charging. This is for connecting your phone to the infotainment system. Now this car gets a lot of features, so let's move on to the instrument cluster. This gets a fully digital instrument cluster, and it also has a blind view monitor. So when you turn on the indicator, this camera opens up, and you can have a look at the alloy wheel of the Hyryder. And the same thing happens on the left side also. Switch on the indicator, and the mirror opens up, and during the daylight, the view from the camera is actually quite good. The quality is good, but when it is dark, it becomes average. Not too bad, but not too good either. And you can of course toggle through the MID to see a lot of information. It shows a lot of information about the car, about the drive, the trip that you're taking. It also gets a navigation function, and yeah, so let's scroll through it. So this is the direction indicator. We are facing southeast, and this is the TPMS display and the digital speedo. So that's about it with the instrument cluster. Apart from that, in terms of safety also, the Alcazar is quite nicely loaded. It does not have a safety rating. In fact, even this car does not have a safety rating. This one has 6 airbags on offer. You get ABS with EBD, VSM, ISOFIX child seat mounts. All the usual safety features are offered by Hyundai. On this car, you also get a 360 view camera, which can be toggled with this button, and the quality is actually nice, better than that of the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. You can toggle through the different views using these buttons over here. Of course, it is better during the daylight and slightly average when it is dark. So we'll shut this right now because we don't need it. And this one also has a lot of functions, actually. The infotainment system over here, you get an electronic parking brake, which is a very nice thing, and auto hold, which is a very useful feature when you drive this car in traffic. I don't think the Hyryder gets this feature, the auto hold feature. In terms of storage spaces, the Alcazar is very nicely laid out, and you get bottle holders on the door pads, some storage spaces over here, and this is the key of the car, which is exactly the same since more than a decade. Even the first generation i20 used to come with a similar key. Of course, it did not have this start stop function from the key, but the design was the same because we had a 2009 i20 in the family, so I remember this very well. And let me just show it to you. So this is the bottle holder, quite big. You can fit a 1 liter bottle easily. A small bottle can be fitted here, and some small nitty-gritties can be fitted over here. You get 2 cup holders over here, a small area to keep the car key probably, and this is the center armrest. It cannot be slid back and forth, but yeah, you can open it up and keep your wallet or your keys or something like that. The seat is nicely shaped. The contours are very good. The quality of the upholstery is also very, very nice. And this variant does not have ventilated seats, but on the top end Alcazar you get front ventilated seats also. This one has height adjustable seat belts, again a very useful feature, and finding a good driving position is very easy on this car. You get a good view of what's around, and in fact the Alcazar, even though it is slightly bigger, it feels very easy to drive around, and you can easily park this car also. So maneuverability and drivability, all those things are not an issue with the Alcazar. When it comes to size, here's a look at the headrest of the car. Here's a look at the headrest of the front seat. This is actually quite small in size, and if you are tall, you will have to obviously lift this up. But yeah, I think a bigger headrest would have been a welcome addition to the Alcazar. The headrest on the headrest on the Hyryder is actually much taller. I'll show that to you in a bit. In fact, I've spoken a lot about the cabin of the Alcazar. Let's move on to the cabin of the Hyryder now. We'll shut this car and move on to the Hyryder. So here we are with the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder. This is the door pad of the car, and these are the regular power window switches. We have seen this design on a ton of Maruti cars. This is the key. Again, it is exactly the same that we have seen on every car right from the Maruti Celerio, and you get a bottle holder over here. Let's sit inside the car. Okay, so now I'm seated in the cabin of the Urban Cruiser Hyryder, and it looks and feels very familiar. And in fact, one thing I forgot to mention is that the driver's seat on the Alcazar has electric adjustment. On this, you have manual adjustment. So again, a big plus to the Alcazar for that feature. And the look and feel of the cabin in the Hyryder is also very nice, and you get a nice color theme. You get some soft touch materials. On the Alcazar, you get hard touch materials everywhere. And the screen is also quite big in size. It is shared with the Maruti Baleno and the Brezza. Fluidity is good. It is slightly better on the Alcazar, and the sound quality is actually way better on the Alcazar. On this, you get 6 speakers from Arcamis. On that, you get a Bose 8-speaker surround sound system. Of course, the Bose speaker also isn't very high end, but yeah, it is better than that of the Hyryder that we have with us right now. The mirrors of the Hyryder offer a good field of view. In fact, even the IREM does a good job, and this is also auto dimming. You get this auto feature, auto button over here, and over here you get this mirror with a light also. Wow. In fact, even here you get a mirror with a light. So this is a nice thing. You get a sunglass holder over here and a very basic cabin light. So these are normal bulbs. You can individually also toggle them if you want. And this is the sunroof control. So let me just close this cover to show it to you how thin it is. So this is actually very thin, and you can see that even when the cover is shut, a lot of light filters inside the cabin. That is not the case with the Alcazar. That one does a better job at insulation. Over here, even with the cover shut, a lot of sun rays can be felt inside the cabin. And yeah, it is very easy to damage also. So probably if some kid is playing around, he might damage it. Let's open it. Let me show you how the dual pane sunroof opens up. So on the Hyryder, both of these glass sections open up completely, and it is a very wide. So yeah, I think this is one of the biggest talking points of this car. See how it opens up. The whole opening over here is very wide and probably the biggest in the segment. Let's shut this for now because we don't need it. We are back to the cabin of this car. A lot of buttons feel familiar because the AC control buttons are shared with the Baleno. This is also shared with some Maruti car, and in fact the AC of both the cars is actually very nice. So you know, these Japanese and Korean cars offer very strong and powerful ACs. The steering wheel is shared with some new Maruti cars, and this one also gets a digital instrument cluster, which is offered only on the strong hybrid. So if you buy the K15 top end variant, you will get a normal instrument cluster which is different from this one. This one also shows a lot of information and it is easy to read. You can have a look at the range, 430 kilometers, and the fuel needle is just slightly up over the half mark, and the average fuel economy is 20.7 kilometers per liter, which is hard to achieve in a car of this price point and segment. You can have a look at the energy flow meter. So this is showing the charge of the battery, 2 bars. So when you brake, of course the battery gets charged. This is the motor and the engine. So when you're driving this car, it shows you whether the car is driving purely on the power of the motor or if the engine's power is being used. So right now the car is in EV mode, the engine is shut off, and yeah, the AC and all, they are running purely on the battery of this car. So we'll drive the car in a bit, but let me just show you around the center console. This one gets an EV mode. This one gets different drive modes also. You get a normal mode and a power mode along with an eco mode. You get front ventilated seats, and they do a very nice job of, you know, keeping your back cool. So this is a useful feature. The glove box is decently sized. It is not very big, and this armrest can be slid back and forth. You can also open it up and free up some storage space. You get 2 cup holders over here, and these are the steering controls of the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. So yeah, good amount of features on both the cars. You get an HUD also, which I personally find useless, and there are way too many dummy buttons, and the quality of these buttons, that could have been better. I mean, this headlight control knob, this is something that we have seen even on entry level Marutis. So here they could have done a more premium job. In the Alcazar, the quality of all the components feels, you know, very much consistent, and here you can see some luxurious components and some very basic components. So you know, there is some contrast over here. You get a blue power button because this is the strong hybrid variant, and overall I think the vibe inside both the cars is nice. That one definitely has more space and more practicality, but to find out more about the space, we'll move on to the second row of both the cars. I'll start off with the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. Time to get in the rear seat of the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. The seating position has been adjusted to my position. I'm 6 feet tall, and yeah, this one also has 6 airbags on offer. So yeah, I'm seated. Knee room is actually quite decent, and as you can see, the headrest is much taller than that of the Hyundai Alcazar. Here's another look at the massive dual pane sunroof. You get some lights over here, and of course these are standard normal bulbs, but yeah, space levels are decent in this car. You get 2 AC vents over here and 2 charging ports also, 1 normal USB and 1 type C, along with a small storage area over here. Knee room is decent on this car. You get storage spaces behind the front seats, and you get a 3-point seat belt for the middle passenger also, which is not offered on the Alcazar. You get 3 adjustable headrests, and this opens up, so you get 2 cup holders inside this also. In terms of safety features, both the cars are evenly matched. You get 6 airbags on both the cars. You get traction control, ABS with EBD, ISOFIX style seat mounts, but yeah, there are no safety ratings for either of these cars. So this was an experience of the rear seat of the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. Getting in and out is very easy. Knee room is okay, not the best, but the width of the cabin is just about okay. 2 adults can sit here very comfortably. The middle one will have slightly limited space. Another cause of concern in the Hyryder is that the headroom is seriously limited. So of course you can recline the seat if you want, but when the seat is upright, tall people will find their head, you know, scraping against the roof of this car. So you can have a look at that in the shot right now, and I've spoken enough about the rear seat of the Hyryder. Let's move on to the Alcazar now. I am now in the rear seat of the Alcazar. Getting in this car is actually easier than that of the Hyryder because the door also opens up a bit more wider, and yeah, space levels are better on this car. So we are seated in the Alcazar. Here's a look at the sunroof. You get an LED bulb over here. On that, the Hyryder, you get a normal bulb, and yeah, you get a lot of storage areas, and much better practicality on this car. There are some storage nets over here. This thing opens up, this dining table thing, and you get two of these actually. On the Kia Carens you get only one over here, and over here you get an air purifier. So on the Carens they probably want only one passenger to have food or work. On the Alcazar there is equality, and this one also has an air purifier, which is missing on the Urban Cruiser Hyryder. You get two AC vents and a single USB port over here, along with a small storage area. Knee room, as you can see, is slightly better than the Hyryder. This seat has also been adjusted to my driving position, and the headrest, as you can see, is very small in size. So that's about it. The Alcazar also has a 6-seater variant, 2 captain seats and a middle center armrest are available on that variant. But I find this one to be more practical because, of course, if you're buying such a big car, you may want to carry an extra person whenever the need arises. So here's a look at the door pad of the car and the big window. And there is no headrest offered for the middle passenger. The seat can be reclined, 2 adjustable headrests. Again, these are quite small in size, and there are no cup holders on the armrest of the Alcazar. And the middle passenger also gets a 2-point seat belt. On the Hyryder you get a proper 3-point seat belt with the mounting somewhere over here. So that's about it. This is the second row experience of the Alcazar. This one has another useful feature, which is this, the sun shade, and this somehow, you know, increases the appeal of the cabin. So yeah, people like these features definitely. So if you want to get inside the third row of the Alcazar, all you have to do is pull this knob and the seat tumbles down properly. You can get inside the third row from here. This is the platinum variant, which is why there is no footstep over here. If you buy the signature option pack, you get a footstep over here with a, you know, silver colored finish. It looks quite good and it is actually sturdy and usable. So this is the third row space in the Hyundai Alcazar. The seat is decently sized. It is very flat and there are not a lot of contours around. You get 2 headrests and of course seat belts for the rear passengers. You get AC vents also and a charging port, along with a couple of storage areas, and you get an air control knob over there also, along with the USB port, and of course 2 cup holders on that side also. Knee room is just about okay over here. So for short trips it should be good. For long trips, prefer putting only kids over here. Let's put the seat back in place. The rear seats of both the cars can be reclined, so that is a good thing. You can, you know, adjust it the way you want it. Okay, I think we are done. The Alcazar has a fuel tank capacity of 50 liters. This one has a capacity of 45 liters, but of course this one will go much longer on a full tank of fuel. Let's get started with the driving. I'm at the wheel of the Hyundai Alcazar now, and this car actually feels very pleasant to drive. Of course, it is not, you know, very performance-ish, and the driving experience isn't very exciting, but the car does not feel boring as such, and the power also is more than enough. So, you know, overall driving this car is a very easy experience, and somehow this car never disappoints you. It is, you know, one of the perfect family cars that you can buy below 30 lakh rupees. So the one which I have with me is the petrol manual variant, and this one of course makes 159 horses and 191 Newton meters. The engine itself is very smooth and, you know, it feels very creamy. So when you drive this car also, the power delivery is quite linear. There's no sudden surge of power, and the car actually accelerates very nicely in a linear fashion without a lot of lag. The low end performance in the city is quite good. In fact, even the mid-range has decent punch, and overall, irrespective of whether you're driving in the city or out on the highway, the Alcazar feels quite pleasant, and even overtaking other bigger cars, bigger vehicles like trucks and buses isn't very difficult in the Hyundai Alcazar. The manual gearbox of the Alcazar is also quite nice to use. The clutch is on the lighter side, and gear shifts also, you know, very nice and easy. The throws are quite short, and the 6-speed manual works very nicely. So yeah, that's about the performance of the car. The automatic variants of the Alcazar get different driving modes and traction control modes also, and this one also has a diesel engine for people who want more efficiency. And talking about efficiency, in the city, the petrol delivers around 9 to 10 kilometers per liter. Realistically, out on the highways, the number can go up to 18 kilometers per liter depending on the way you drive. So yeah, on the highway, I think both the cars will be evenly matched in terms of mileage, because even the strong hybrid Urban Cruiser Hyryder gives around 90-20 on the highway and a lot more in the city, around 25 in the city. So in the city, definitely the Hyryder has an advantage with its strong hybrid system, but apart from the mileage, there is no big advantage in the Hyryder, but I'll discuss that later when I drive that car. And if I had to pick one out of these two, I'll probably pick the diesel variant of the Alcazar, the diesel automatic variant, because that is a good blend of, you know, convenience also and fuel economy also. And with a full tank of fuel, the Alcazar diesel easily does 800 kilometers, which I think is quite good. So On the Hyryder with a full tank, you can probably get 800 to 900 kilometers. So yeah, personally I would prefer a diesel car. Of course, there are very few number of diesel cars on sale right now. The Creta and Alcazar are some of them, and see how easy it is to drive the Alcazar. The steering is very light. At high speeds, it does not weigh up a lot, but it is decent. It is quite neutral, and drive the Alcazar sedately. It won't disappoint you. Push it hard and you will feel wanting for more. So the ride quality of the Alcazar is also quite good. It is, it absorbs all the bumps very nicely, and the 18-inch tires also do a good job. On the lower variants, you get 17-inch tires. Again, the ride quality might be slightly better on those tires, but this is not bad at all. In fact, the ride is quite good and slightly better than the Hyryder. The Hyryder feels a bit stiff. Let's come to the Hyryder in a bit. The braking of the Alcazar is also quite good. The disc brakes do their job very nicely, and overall no major complaints on the drivability front. Of course, the engine could be more exciting, but for a car of this segment and the category that this car is targeted towards, I think the engine is also quite nice. So yeah, let's move on to the Hyryder now. So I'm driving the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder now. As I mentioned a lot of times before, this is the strong hybrid variant, and this is powered by 1.5 litre engine. This is 3-cylinder unit, but even though it has just 3 cylinders, it is actually quite refined and silent, and not a lot of vibrations are felt inside the cabin. Now, compared to the K15C engine that is offered on the other variants of the Hyryder, and of course eventually the Grand Vitara also, the K15C feels quite dull in comparison. This one feels much more better, and of course this is also not very powerful or very exciting, but it feels much better than the K15C. The drivability is much better, and overall the driving experience also becomes much better. So this one has a pure EV mode also, in which the car is being driven right now. So you can have a look at the energy flow meter. You can see that the power is being used only by the battery, and right now I'll dab the accelerator, and now the engine has also engaged. So this one has a pure EV mode, and in that you get the max mileage. And EV mode usually works in the city, but out on the highways also, when you're cruising at around 80-90 kilometers per hour and you're going very easy on the throttle, or you have just activated cruise control, a lot of times the EV mode comes into play. So again, fuel efficiency is the biggest advantage of this car. Otherwise, practicality wise, I find the Alcazar to be better. This one has different driving modes. You get a normal mode, eco mode, and a power mode. In power mode, the EV mode is activated less often. In eco mode, it is activated more often, and personally I find the normal mode to be the best mode of this car. Otherwise, the drivability is quite good on the Hyryder, and overall this one also feels very easy to drive. The steering is light and maneuverable. No, again, not a lot of feel and feedback from the steering of this car as well, and overall it is a pleasant experience driving both of these cars. From the driver's seat of the Hyryder, you get a very nice view of the bonnet ahead, and outdoor visibility is also very nice on this car. The headrests of course are a bit bigger than that of the Alcazar, and even when you push hard, this car, it feels slightly noisy, and the rubber band effect of the CVT is felt, but it does not feel very underpowered. It is again neutral in terms of power delivery. So again, this car is aimed more towards being a cruiser and less towards being a performance oriented car. And yeah, drive it this way, you won't be disappointed. Of course, it feels slightly more engaging to drive than the Alcazar, not in terms of power delivery, but in terms of the way it handles. So when you're driving up on a twisty road or on a ghat, and if you push this car really hard, it will feel more slightly more engaging, slightly more involving to drive than the Alcazar. And yeah, that's about it. Again, the difference is not much, and both the cars have very good highway manners, very good road manners, and the high speed stability on both the cars is extremely good. In fact, the ride quality is also quite good on the Hyryder. Of course, for bigger bumps, the ride feels a bit stiffer on the Hyryder. It feels more composed on the Alcazar, but yeah, that's about it. Again, not a lot of difference in the ride quality. Personally, I prefer the ride of the Alcazar more compared to the Hyryder. Braking performance is more or less similar on both the cars. You get disc brakes on both the cars, and overall the stopping performance is quite good. But yeah, in fact, just a few days back I was driving the Taygun. The Taygun with the drum brakes at the rear actually had better stopping power than both of these two cars. So I guess that's about it. Fuel economy, as I mentioned before, this will give around 19-20 out on the highway and around 25 in the city. So it is possible to do 1000 kilometers on a full tank of petrol on the Hyryder. With the Alcazar petrol, you'll probably do around 400 to 500 kilometers on a full tank, and probably 600-650 if you're cruising on the highway. With the Alcazar diesel, you can do 800 kilometers on a full tank. So yeah, if you prioritize fuel economy a lot, you can probably stay away from the Alcazar petrol and have a preference towards the diesel variant of the Alcazar or the strong hybrid variant of this. If you are on a tight budget, you can consider the lower variants of the Alcazar, or maybe a mid variant of the Creta, because the Creta is more or less the same as the Alcazar, minus 2 seats. Of course, the petrol engine of the Creta is smaller, 1.5 liter compared to 2 liter on the Alcazar. The diesel is exactly the same. And if you want this or the Grand Vitara on a budget, you can get the K15C variants. Again, not very exciting to drive, but overall a very decent package. So I hope I have summed up both the cars nicely, and yeah. So which one should you buy out of these two, the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder or the Hyundai Alcazar? Well, in terms of features and technology, both the cars are evenly matched, and there's not a lot of difference between the price points also. This one gets a normal petrol and a diesel engine option. This one gets mild hybrid and strong hybrid engine options. So if you think that you can compromise a bit on fuel economy, but if you want more space, more practicality, and you want something that feels more rounded as a package, go for the Hyundai Alcazar. But if you're okay with compromising a bit on space and boot space, and you don't really need such a big car, and if fuel economy is slightly higher up on your priority list, you can get the Hyryder or the Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara. I hope this clears out all the confusion. If you have any questions about both of these two cars or any other car, please feel free to ask me in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to answer them.